Well, good evening, everyone. We are just about ready to get going with the first Clarington virtual town hall. We're going to wait a few minutes to make sure that everyone gets on. We don't want to start early. People might miss answers to questions that they want to hear answers to. This is, and I'll repeat this a little bit later on, I'm going to say sort of like a reverse council meeting where generally the public don't get to ask questions and have answers immediately come from our senior leadership team, and that's the point of what we're doing this evening. So we've got an awful lot of questions that have already been sent in. Please do send questions in. If your question doesn't get asked, now I'll repeat all of this after 5 o'clock, but if your question doesn't get asked, we will be posting responses, or where we can't answer them, it may be a question that Clarington doesn't have control over, we will post the appropriate the web links for you to take a look at. The other is if when you hang up, when this is over, you have a brilliant question, and that's usually what happens. It's when the meeting is over, you wish you had thought of the question to ask. Please feel free to send emails to mayor@clarington.net. So mayor, M-A-Y-O-R, @clarington.net, and we'll do our best to answer those questions as well. And again, we're just, we'll wait until 6 o'clock. We will launch at the time that we promised we would launch at, and we will probably do a sound check. So for people that are out there, and the sound in the past has been fine for some people and not great for others. Bash is with me, and if you've been on the Facebook Live exercises that we've done, she helps out. Basha, how are we doing in terms of, are we getting thumbs up or anything on sound? I guess go ahead, Basha.
Sorry, Mayor Foster, Your Worship. Yes, I think our sound quality is fine right now. We're just working away here as we wait for people to join. We have 6 people who have joined us so far, so welcome and thank you for taking the time out. As Mayor Foster mentioned, we will be answering your questions. This is really focused on how municipal services have been impacted by COVID. So if you have any questions that are related to provincial emergency orders or public health, we will be posting links and answers to kind of redirect you to get your answers, but this really is a focus on our municipal services with Mayor Foster and his senior leadership team.
Great. So for those of you that are listening, you may have heard Basha refer to me as Your Worship. That is a traditional honorific for the mayor, one that I absolutely hate. Thank you for that, Basha.
Sorry, Mayor Foster, my apologies there.
You know what, it's if that's the worst thing that happens. So there's a story around what I see every time I hear Your Worship, and that is usually one of our dogs staring at what I'm eating, and the dog is worshiping whatever I'm eating. So I have no idea why that comes to my mind, but we're almost there, and we will get going very shortly. For those of you that have joined us, thank you for this. We will likely be doing these on a regular basis. So something good that has come out of the pandemic has been technology that I'm going to suggest has been forced on us, but doing things in a different way. And one of the different ways is being able to bring the senior leadership team to you in a simple and hopefully we'll find out effective fashion.
We're just a minute short of starting, Mayor Foster. For those of you who have joined us, you may already see some questions. Those are questions that when we were advertising for this event, we asked some members of the public to pre-register their questions. So that's what you're seeing right now. And thank you for those who took the time to email us and send their questions.
Alrighty, well, I guess it is 6 o'clock, a witching hour. We're going to call it the hour. If I was at a council meeting, I'd be saying that we're calling the meeting to order. We're not going to be formal at all this evening, but it will be sort of similar to a council meeting. So as you ask a question, what I'll be doing is reaching out to the appropriate department head to give you that information. Normally, if you work a regular job, a 9-to-5 job, you don't have the opportunity to engage in dialogue with staff. We have done these in the past where we've done a bit of a roadshow. Those are far more of a production than this is, if you imagine taking everybody out to a town hall. So we're going to be trying these digital ones and see how those work out. Your comments at the end of this will help us plan the next one. So we are looking at COVID-related questions and issues that impact the municipality of Clarington. I'm sure there'll be a number of questions around provincial rules, perhaps federal rules, mostly provincial. For those, we will give you links. We may discuss them a little bit, but quite frankly, we can't always interpret what the province is trying to get out there. There are frequently some inconsistencies with that, but we will get links to you. So you've got an opportunity to ask questions and get answers. We'll call it right from the horse's mouth, if you will. I will hear about that from the senior leadership team, but I'm going to introduce those folks now. So these are the people that make the municipality run and do an absolutely fantastic job at it. And in no particular order, I've got our acting Chief Administrative Officer, Ms. Marie Morano, and we're going to see if we can focus on Marie. Marie has been with the municipal. How many years, Ms. Morano?
Great, 34 years.
Wow.
Yes.
So for the work that you do, and just huge amount of knowledge. The other, and I suspect that he's going to be taking most of the questions this evening, is our Director of Community Services, Mr. George Acorn. So Mr. Acorn's a guy who will be talking about pools, arenas, any of the recreational services that we have, and that has been a very live and ongoing discussion and dialogue. Our acting Director of Engineering is Ron Albright. Mr. Albright, thank you for joining us. So I'm not sure how many COVID-related engineering questions there are, but if you've got a question related to engineering, so this would typically be, I'm going to say roads is probably the most common thing that comes up from members of the public. But we could be talking about parks being planned and whatnot. We'll see. The questions are yours. I'm not going to try to anticipate them. And then we've got the Acting Director of Operations, Mr. Steve Brake. Mr. Brake, thank you for joining us. And again, different roads and different ways of dealing with roads. Again, he might, I guess, playground questions might go to Mr. Brake on that. Our municipal clerk, Anne Greentree, is with us tonight, and Anne, I know that at 7 o'clock sharp you need to go because you've got another meeting on the go. If you do watch councillor committee meetings, the clerk is always sitting to my left. I've been describing the clerks at council and committee meetings as the air traffic controllers. So you can imagine that where we haven't dealt with all of this technology, we are now. It's a bit of an interesting ballet from behind the scenes. So Anne, to your staff, thank you. And tonight, Basha is and her staff are the air traffic controllers, if you will. Our acting director and everything relating to planning is Faye Langmaid. Ms. Langmaid, thank you. So you all know how busy things are around the town. Planning are the guys that have the vision for the town in the future, where things are going, and they're also the ones that you need to talk to if you've got ideas on what you're building where. Frequently they're going to be able to give you all kinds of great advice on that. Again, I'm not sure how planning and COVID comes in, but if planning questions come up, something that Ms. Langmaid can help us with, that is great. Ms. Langmaid, thank you for being here. Our municipal solicitor, Mr. Rob McIver. Rob, thank you for joining us this evening, and I know you've been poring over the all of the announcements that are coming from the province and can provide us some I'm going to call it technical advice in terms of what some of those mean, and they are a bit confusing, and sometimes the messages aren't entirely aligned. But we are all, federal government, provincial government, and municipal governments, figuring this out as we go through it. We also have our Director of Finance and Municipal Treasurer, Mr. Trevor Pinn. So Mr. Pinn is the guy that controls the finances. I'm sure there will be some questions on programs that we put forward for community support. We have a program that may potentially help you with property taxes, and coming out is a program we're working on, planning and finance working together on some programs to help business. So if there are questions around that, that's going to be Mr. Pinn. And lastly, we have our Fire Chief, Gord Weir. As you know, Gord and his team are the guys that frequently keep us safe, more often than not safe from ourselves. And I'll beat Gord to the punch with everyone being at home lately. We've had a number of fires. So as you're cooking more, as you are home more, please be extra careful, extra safe. We would rather not send those trucks rolling, and we've had to do that more frequently than we want to. I'm going to give you a couple of quick messages. So one, you know, in Durham Region, that a requirement for masks indoors have come down. Please understand that the masks don't protect you unless you have a medical grade mask. The point of the mask is protecting people around you from you. If you have the virus, it can help stop you from shedding the virus. The mask does not replace the 6-foot physical distancing suggestions. I'm not going to call them requirements. And if you look at what is going on south of the border, you understand how important it is that we remain vigilant. So please keep washing your hands. Be smart. You know, when you're going indoors into areas, wear a mask. If you're outdoors and the physical distancing is difficult or impossible, wear a mask, and remember that 6-foot physical distancing. We do not want things to get out of hand here. I think we're all enjoying things opening a little bit, and that's because all of you have been so phenomenal. And I am going to stop now. That was longer than I want to go. Basha, would you by any chance have a question?
We do. Thank you, Mayor Foster. We have several questions coming in, and thank you for those who have taken the time. Again, I just wanted to remind everybody who has joined us thus far that we are focusing tonight really on COVID impact on municipal services. So if you have any province-related questions, public health-related questions, we will answer them offline and give you links to the necessary resources, but generally speaking, we won't discuss those. We will be touching, of course, because some of the provincial orders impact the municipality. So let's get started. We have 2 questions actually that are very similar in nature, both from one from Susan and one from Rick, and they're actually regarding swimming pools. So they both would like to know what our plans are, when will swimming pools open, since they were allowed to reopen as of stage 2, and how are we going to ensure that public safety is protected?
So, Mr. Acorn, I'm going to give that's a George Acorn question.
Yes, it is, Mayor Foster, and thank you, Susan and Rick, for the question. You are correct that the stage 2 reopening announcement from the province did allow swimming pools, both indoor and outdoor, to resume operations. Since that announcement came out, we've been working with the Life Saving Society of Canada, the Ministry of Health, and our local district public health unit on what is a responsible and practical and cautious approach to swimming pools. There's a lot of regulations around swimming pools in the best of times, and at this particular moment when public safety is even heightened, we've got a plan that we're working on. It will be cautious, it will be pragmatic. We've got a critical meeting with our public health people later this week, and pending some direction from that, we hope to be able to move forward with an announcement on some aspect of swimming. And our plan right now is putting the details in place for our indoor operation in the fall. At this point, we're not sure what that's going to look like, but I guess the bottom line is whatever we do will be with the health and safety of the public and our staff first and foremost. So we want to get these facilities open to the public, but we have to do it in a practical, reasonable, and safe manner. So hopefully stay tuned. We might see something on not indoor pools in the next week, if that's a bit of a hint, but we've got a key meeting with Durham Public Health on Thursday.
And just to remind everybody joining us, for any updates in terms of what is opening, how we're opening it, when we're doing timeframes, please go to www.clarington.net/COVID-19. This is our dedicated webpage for all municipal related news, and you will be able to find information there.
So Basha, just before you go, it's going to be important for people to look at, even in cases where the province is allowing us to open, if we're not ready, as Mr. Acorn said, if we aren't confident that it's safe for everyone, we will take our time and make sure that it is safe. So it's going to be important to check that to see what's open in Clarington as opposed to what you might read as a general rule from the province. And I'm sorry I interrupted you, but I thought that was important to get out there.
Thank you so much. We have another question coming in from Lanaya in Bowmanville. What a beautiful name, and I hope I pronounced that right. The question is, my teenage son is desperately awaiting arenas to open so that he can book ice time for himself and friends to play shinny. What is the estimated time for this? It seems very reasonable that it could be included in phase 3 with appropriate social distancing measures. But if that is not the plan, I would appreciate knowing why. It would also help out some small businesses in Clarington that rely on scape sharpening and equipment sales.
So if you're looking, Mr. Acorn is smiling because we had a round table that was put together by MPP Park yesterday with a couple of the hockey associations. So we had a long chat. The timing on your question is perfect, Mr. Acorn.
Yes, thanks, Lanaya, for the question. The timing is perfect, but based on the announcement yesterday, it might be somewhat old news, and that's how fluid the situations are right now. So, in stage 2, there was the ability to offer up recreation facilities for training and skill development. So as Mayor Foster said, we met with our minor sport users, our minor ice users yesterday, our local MPP, the mayor, myself, and some of the skill development into businesses that provide services in Clarington. So we advised that our staff was putting together a game plan for ice to be in place probably at the South Curtis Arena in mid-August, and that the hockey organizations would encourage their players that as of yesterday morning were not allowed on the ice in any organized fashion other than for skill development to take the ice through that program. However, yesterday afternoon, with the announcement of stage 3, there has been restrictions lifted when it comes to arenas. Mr. McIver, our solicitor, and I had a brief discussion this afternoon, and there's a lot of moving parts to that announcement and the regulations, and our staff are working through what is actually in the regulations and what we can do. We're obviously going to have to put together a subsequent plan moving forward. At this point, it's probably something that could be allowable in stage 3, the shinny hockey. drop-in, but at this time I couldn't guarantee when that's going to happen. Our plan was for the skill development to go to Labor Day anyway, and then look at our plan moving forward after Labor Day.
Thank you for that. Clearly, this is a very fluid situation as we continue to make plans. Thank you for those of you joining and asking questions. Understandably, they're focused on what is reopening in these next times. Mayor Foster, did you want to add anything before we move on to another question?
Yeah, no, I think the point in terms of being fluid, and we are all waiting to see what happens. I think most people understand. I've run into a couple that we are part of the GTHA. Some people don't know that, so we are excluded from the most recent announcements of opening. So we still need to wait for that to come. So if you're wondering whether or not we are part of the GTHA, Hamilton is included in that. We are, so we still have the existing restrictions still apply to us. Ashley, what have you got for another question?
There is another question, and this is actually one of a series of questions that we've been getting from on social media, and this is from an individual who has posted this. It's regarding field permits. People want to know when we will start permitting soccer teams to rent our soccer fields, baseball teams. So just wondering if we could touch on that, Mayor Foster.
Alrighty, so I think we're going to give Mr. Acorn a break, and pardon the pun, Mr. Brake. That was completely unintentional. But Stephen Brake is our acting director of operations, so they do fields, and Mr. McIver might want to weigh in if he needs to on the rules, what's allowable and not. So on fields and permits, and maybe touch on what we can do on soccer fields and tennis courts and basketball courts.
Certainly. Under current Stage 2 rules, teams can use any of the sports fields, be it soccer or baseball, for training purposes. That means that individuals can go out there and do pitching training or throwing a ball around, any other type of activity like that. We fully anticipate that under Stage 3, the sports fields, being soccer and baseball, will open up. Our permitting process, from everything that has been submitted to date, is up to date. And when Stage 3 does arrive, we'll be able to quickly turn that around within a day or two, have all the permits out to the various clubs, and then allow practice or games as per the requests from the clubs. With regards to tennis courts, they are allowed to play doubles on tennis now, providing that social distancing is maintained. The same would apply if I go back to baseball and softball and soccer, that social distancing of the 6 feet is required as well. But with regards to tennis courts and playgrounds and such, that activity can occur, except playgrounds. They're still closed, and we anticipate them to open under phase or Stage 3.
Mr. Brake, thank you. Ashley, what else have you got for us?
Just to follow up on that, could you please clarify for us a little bit? We are getting a lot of questions regarding playgrounds and kind of the timeline for that, and what is that going to look like exactly? Our splash pads have opened. There is some capacity rules regarding that, and signage has been posted accordingly. So maybe if you could just elaborate and walk us through a little bit of the logistics surrounding playgrounds when they do open.
So, Mr. Brake, we've got to wait for Stage 3 for playgrounds. At this point in time, while you can walk through the playground or sit on a bench, you shouldn't have your kids playing on the equipment, correct?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. We are continuing to do our monthly inspections. That's a requirement that we have to do. So all the playgrounds are currently inspected for damage or any kind of repairs that are necessary, but they're not open yet to the kids. We want to make sure that the kids are safe. When Stage 3 does come along, we anticipate that the playgrounds will reopen, and all the caution tape that's up there will be taken down. Kids are welcome to go back to them. We'll probably have to do the same as we have for splash pads and calculate what a number or capacity on the playgrounds will be to make sure that there is safety for the children. We won't be sanitizing them, so we fully encourage parents to bring that type of material to the playgrounds to allow their kids to wash their hands and practice good hand hygiene afterwards.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Bray.
Okay, thank you. We have a question from Rob. We're going to pivot a little bit here. This is a fantastic question. It's about volunteering. Rob would like to know what volunteering opportunities are available at this time or in the foreseeable future with the Municipality of Clarington.
So Bash, is that sort of you asking yourself a question? I don't know. I think our manager of communications can deal with that, but there are. So we've had that question a number of times, and I've got to tell you that it's one of the most heartening things when you look in the community. The number of people that want to volunteer and the number of people that are trying to have a positive impact on neighbors during COVID. There have been a significant number of requests, and I can tell you, Rob, we could not do without community members stepping up. We could not do what happens in the town without folks like yourself. So there is, well, here, Bash, I'll let you do it, but there is a portion on the website that can speak to that. We do have some restrictions. A lot of the organizations have shut down, but there are a few organizations that really need help. So Basha, can you take that one on?
Yes, of course. So we have a lot of agencies are currently listed on our Clarington Volunteers website, and you can find that at claringtonvolunteers.ca. You can also email our staff at Clarington Volunteers at clarington.net, and they'll be able to link you to potential groups. You know, while many groups have shut their doors during the pandemic, they are pivoting and offering their volunteer services differently. So I would still encourage anyone who is willing and wants to take that on, and it's critical right now, really, to do so. To please reach out to the different organizations listed on our website. They will require help, and they have adapted throughout this time. So again, for those of you who are looking for volunteer opportunities, that website is claringtonvolunteers.ca.
Thanks, Bash. And I know Feed the Need, the food bank, so they were looking for people to help deliver food. And for all of the agencies, they are training the volunteers. So everyone has training on how to remain safe while they're doing that. Community care needed help, again, visiting and delivering meals as well. And Help Me Out, there is the fairly new organization, Basha. Oh gosh, I know I left it wide open, and it's going to come to me as soon as I stop trying. But there are a couple of groups, and we can post something later on as we think of the groups that need more help than they typically do in the past. But Rob, thank you for that question. It's always so great to hear about people who want to help out in the community.
It certainly is. Thank you, Mayor Foster. So we're going to pivot again and switch topics a little bit and speak about financial assistance. We have a question from Tyler, and Tyler would like to know, does a business have to submit the CIP pre-application, so that's the Community Improvement Plan pre-application, to receive support, or will there be another application when the program is approved by council?
Okay, so the you know what, I'm going to, Faye is, if you guys can see on my monitor, Faye is looking directly at the monitor. So this is a Faye Langmate, who's our acting director of planning, and backup support on that is going to be Trevor Pinn, who is our treasurer. So Faye, you're still working on the CIP. That still has to come to council. I guess some timing on that would be helpful as well.
Yes, so we most likely will bring the community improvement plan to council in the fall. Community improvement plans, just for a bit of background, are under both the Planning Act and the Municipal Act. and they involve businesses and physical improvements to businesses. We have posted an application on the COVID finance webpage. I probably have that wrong. I'm sure Basil will correct it when I finish talking. And we are asking people to actually fill that out because it helps us in knowing what businesses need to reopen. So that will actually help us write the program. But you don't need to fill it out right now to be eligible for the financing when council finally is able to approve what we bring forward to them. But I don't know everything about what businesses need to reopen. I keep asking businesses that question when I'm in their retail spaces or in my chiropractor space yesterday, because the needs of different businesses are quite different. So that's one of the things that people could help us with right now. And we will be writing the program over the summer period. It has to be reviewed by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and also by council and approved by council, and that should happen in the fall.
Great, thanks, Faye. Trevor, do you have anything to add to that?
The only thing I would add to that is that the municipality's website, clarington.net, has a link on the homepage in bright red that says COVID-19 financial support. That is the link to both information on the property tax relief program, the community improvement program that Faye was just talking about, as well as the grant program for nonprofit organizations, the community support program that we have issued as well. So it is all in one webpage.
Thank you, Trevor. And I'm going to reiterate what Ms. Langmead, Faye, was saying. We don't know. Different businesses have been hit in radically different ways. Some businesses are doing exceptionally well, many not so much. And because we don't understand your business, not just reopening, but how you stay open, the challenges moving ahead, please let us know how we best help you, because we really need that input. Thank you, Basha.
And thank you, Mayor Foster, and Director Pinn is correct. There is actually a friendly URL to get to that page also. It's clarington.net/financial support. And while we're talking about financial support, we are getting inquiries and questions about the tax support program. So perhaps we could inform our residents about this initiative, this financial support initiative that was passed by council, and how people can qualify and how they can apply for it.
So I was going to make George Acorn answer that question, but it won't be. That would be a Trevor Pinn. Mr. Pinn, could you help? Can you describe that? And I know that that's all on the web as well.
Yes, the property tax rebate program application was added to the website, I believe, yesterday afternoon or early this morning. So it is available for residents to download, fill in, and prepare the documents that we need in order to determine eligibility. Back in June, the program was established that would provide for 100% of the municipal portion of the tax bill. So that does not include the portion that's for the region of Durham or the portion that is for public education. What will happen is for the period March 17th to June 19th, which is basically when we were within the shutdown period up till stage 2, that's the period of time that the rebate program would apply for. If you meet certain financial obligation or financial criteria, first being that you have to have lost your employment or had it significantly curtailed because of COVID, and there's an income test as well. If you meet those obligations, you will in September, October, be a recipient of a rebate for your property taxes, again, only on the portion that relates to the Clarington part of your property tax bill.
So, Mr. Pinn, for clarification, we talk about a recipient, of a rebate. in fact, you're going to see your taxes owing diminish. We're not writing checks to individuals.
For the most part, no, because the thought is that at this point, those individuals will likely not have been able to make their payment on the installment dates, one being July 23rd and the other one being in September. So it will be applied to the account, to the individual's tax account. I do want to also clarify that this is for your primary residence only. It is only for residential properties, and it is only for one property. So if you own multiple properties in town, you can only claim the rebate on your primary residence.
Thank you, Mr. Penn. Asha.
While we are staying on the support topic, there is a question here related to our support for businesses. So Cindy in Newcastle would like to know, oh, sorry, my apologies, it's Joanne from Curtis. What is the municipality doing to support local businesses struggling during COVID-19?
So we answered part of that a moment ago with the CIP. Mr. Pinn, do you want to add perhaps some more details in terms of what we think would qualify, and just in case we answered that when the lady asking the question wasn't on, maybe tread over that a little bit quickly again.
Sure. Very, very quickly, the community improvement program was approved by council. The area was approved. The plan for the grants still will come back in September to assist businesses in their reopening and staying open through the pandemic, primarily with capital hard changes that they've had to make to their businesses. So if they've had to put in plexiglass shields, or if it's a business that may have opened up a takeout window, like if it's a restaurant that opened up a takeout window, or if they've had to move a wall in order to create that 6-foot separation, those types of capital expenses would qualify under this program. The acting director of planning, Fei Lang, mentioned earlier that there's currently an application form on the website right now that is helping us to determine what types of costs could or should be covered under this. We don't know what all the costs are that businesses are incurring, so we need that information in order to properly develop the plan. Unfortunately, due to the way the Municipal Act is written, we're very tied on what we can do for businesses. We cannot provide tax rebate programs like we can for residential taxpayers. We can't provide loans directly to businesses. The CIP, the Community Improvement Plan, is the most efficient way that we can assist businesses coming back into the economic startup.
Mr. Pinn, thank you. And I'm sorry, Bash, was that Joanne from Curtis?
Yes, I believe so. Also, Mayor Foster, if we can touch to answer Joanne's question, we're part of the Durham Economic Task Force. The Clarington Board of Trade and Office of Economic Development is actually supporting businesses in a variety of ways, and Clarington Tourism is also doing their part. Can we touch a little bit about that?
So a couple of things, Joanne. You may want to take a look at Durham Region, and if you simply Google Invest Durham, they've done a couple of things. So they've got Downtowns of Durham is a website that highlights businesses, obviously, and Downtowns of Durham, you can see what's open, what services are being provided, and they're offering a I'm going to call it a Shopify back-end to website. So businesses that could not offer their services products online are being allowed to do that in an easy and very cost-effective way. So that's something that the region is doing, and there are a lot more resources there in terms of questions, what you might qualify for. You can call Durham Region, and they will actually help you out with what benefit package from the province or federal government, if something applies to you. We'll call them ambassadors. They'll help you walk through that. The Board of Trade has just launched a video. They'll be doing a series of videos, and this is trying to rebuild confidence in businesses in Clarington. So they'll be highlighting businesses understanding what those businesses are doing to keep their staff safe as well as customers safe. Again, you can go on the Clarington Board of Trade's website, find out what businesses are open, what products they offer. It's a really easy way to get to know your downtown without necessarily, or downtowns, I should just say, without wandering around that much. And Basha, again, this is sort of your department. So the Rediscover Clarington that we have just launched.
We are super excited about this campaign, but better time to invest and explore your community than now when staycations are becoming even more popular. We have so much to offer in this community, so we are encouraging everybody to rediscover Clarington, to go to our local attractions, to shop locally and really kind of explore the local gems that are available. Clarington Tourism, with the help of our Tourism Advisory Committee, has also launched a comprehensive businesses and attractions directory, and you can find that at clarington.net/business directory, and that will show you what's open, how they're open, hours of operation, the services that they offer. It's quite comprehensive. It gets updated every week. So please explore Clarington, rediscover Clarington, tag us on social media on your photos, show us, show your community spirit and show us what a wonderful community we do have. So we're very excited about that, and you'll be seeing lots of posts from us throughout the summer.
Great, and Joanne, thank you for the question. And please, if you've got suggestions, send the suggestions across in terms of things that we should be considering doing, because we're open to considering just about everything, and we don't know what necessarily is the best way to help a specific group of businesses. So again, the best way, if you want to send suggestions, is just send an email to mayor@clarington.net, and we will certainly appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor Foster. So we're just under 40 minutes into our town hall. We have a question coming in from Rob. Rob would like to know, is Clarington required to be in a state of emergency to follow reopening instructions from the province?
So the easy answer on that, Rob, is no. Whether we had an emergency declaration in Clarington or not, we need to follow what the province tells us to do. So, we're described as creatures of the province, but when the province tells us we can reopen things, we have the ability to do that. But it really is entirely on the province's side. The emergency order does give us the ability to perhaps be a little bit more nimble on some things that we think are important. So before the province mandated closing playgrounds, we thought that was the appropriate thing to do. We did that. There are a number of what I'll suggest are small housekeeping things that were not huge, but really important that we do. And there is the potential for, with the declaration of the emergency, I'm not sure that it'll help us or hinder us, but the potential in doing that, perhaps for funding that would not otherwise be available. Although I'd suggest I might be stretching things a little bit by making that statement. Is that fair, Mr. Pym? So I guess technically, the emergency declaration can help with that, but the province and federal government are going to be making announcements in terms of what they're doing to help municipalities either way.
Thank you, Mayor Foster. Director Pinn?
Mr.
I'm
Pym,
sorry,
I think
Director, you're muted.
I wasn't sure if you were moving on. I didn't want to cut you off. Yes, Mayor Foster's correct. The province and the feds have been politely requested from a number of municipalities, associations, and federations across Canada to provide financial support for municipalities. The MFO, the Municipal Finance Officers Association, has supported Federation of Canadian Municipalities in their request for support Right now, the existing disaster relief programs typically would not apply in this case because it's not a natural disaster, similar to an ice storm or an earthquake or flooding or anything like that. So there really isn't any existing emergency relief programs that are in place, and that's one of the reasons why municipalities are requesting support from both the province and the federal government.
So I've got to cut in. So we are politely requesting of the province and the federal government. I would use another P word, which is persistently. I think pretty much on a daily basis, there are requests going out and letters going out. There is a fair degree of frustration between the province and the federal government as well on getting the funds to flow. And Rob, I'm sorry, you simply asked about the state of emergency. We went a little bit beyond that, but there you go. Thank you for asking that question.
And we have a question coming in from Phyllis and Curtis, back to stage 3, which just to clarify, the municipality of Clarington is within the Durham region, and we are not entering stage 3 this Friday. But we have a question from Phyllis and Curtis who would like to know, how will we ensure public safety during stage 3?
Oh gosh. So Mr. Acorn, I'm going to maybe if you can speak to, you know, what the best example might be what we're doing with community services, the buildings, you know, and even Mr. Brake, you could tie in. We've opened the town hall this week to the public, so there are a lot of things in place right now. Phyllis, I think the easiest thing that I can suggest to you is, regardless of whether we were in stage 3 or not, if we do not feel comfortable that we can safely open a building or a facility, we won't until we're confident that staff as well as members of the public are safe. But Mr. Acorn and then Mr. Brake, I'll get you to sort of chime in terms of some of the procedures that we have in place right now and changes that people will see moving forward.
Yes, Phyllis, excuse me. With regard to the protocols and the safety measures we're putting in place when it comes to indoor recreation facilities, as we said earlier, it's first and foremost in all of our decision making. The health and safety of the public as well as our staff is number one. The first thing we're doing when we hear any announcement from the province and we review the regulations is we do a risk assessment and try to determine that if we can open, when we can open, and the how we can open safely is one of the biggest things. We've got operational plans for our summer camps that are starting next week. We've got a camp operational plan that's been reviewed by Public Health Department. We've got a facilities operations and cleaning plan that's been put in place. We're working on every aspect of every future opening is going to have a detailed plan, and it's going to be down to the detail on what is cleaned, how is it cleaned, how often is it cleaned, how we record that it was cleaned. I think the Ministry of Health has been very supportive and very helpful in providing us those guidelines, and we're going to follow those to a T. And as the mayor said, if there's any question that we can't do something safely for the public and our staff, we're going to go back to the drawing board and rework the plan until we can make sure that happens. Because the day we open our door, the public is going to judge us on how well we've put our plan together, and we want them to walk into our buildings and feel safe and secure and have no question about coming back the next day or the next week. So that is a critical part of what our team has been working on for the last month or so.
Thank you, Mr. Acorn. Mr. Brake, do you have anything to add to that?
Just very quickly, we are obviously following the health department regulations very carefully. It's very important that we follow those to a T. In some of our instances with washrooms, we have not opened our public washrooms, so it's very difficult to ensure that social distancing requirements are followed in there. So we're keeping those closed for now. We've placed portable toilets around town, and we're looking at a protocol to keep those clean. At least with them, you can have one person at a time in them, and that requirement is fulfilled. We're also looking at all kinds of different signing. We have signing out on the trails. We have signing in parks now, on playgrounds, advising people when to use them, when not to use them. Dog parks the same, and what the requirements are to maintain that social distancing requirement. Bylaw enforcement is very active with us. We work with them quite closely to ensure that they're out there. They're educating people on what works, what shouldn't be happening, and we'll be looking at that a little closer in the coming days and weeks with our beaches. We're taking it very carefully, very strongly. Our own staff are even maintaining social distancing. They have protocols that they must follow with the vehicles they use. And we have a corporate policy right now of one person per vehicle, just to make sure that we're all being safe, the public as well as our staff.
Great, Mr. Brake, thank you. And Phyllis, if you come to Town Hall, you'll see that we've got plexiglass up. Anywhere there's going to be interaction between the public and our staff. You'll see stickers on the floor similar to what you see in most retail spots to encourage safe physical distancing, screening as you come in the door. We are controlling who's coming in, so we don't want great crowds. Any of the offices, so if you could see beyond my office, there is a log book. So if you come into the office, similar to what's happening at restaurants where we need to know who's visited, and then there's a roll of paper towel and disinfectant. So after you've been in the office, I'll be wiping down the surfaces, and that's consistent right across the municipality, and everyone's office taking care of that. But thank you for the question. It's really important that people feel comfortable and they understand the steps that we're taking.
Thank you. With just under 15 minutes left in our town hall, we have a question here from a resident, and he would like to know, is the municipality doing anything to provide seniors with supports or programs?
Mr. Pinn, I know exactly you're going to talk about the community program, but go ahead, please.
Through the chair.
So again, for those watching, this is how council works, and everyone's used to it. So if Mr. Pinn were responding at a committee or council meeting, he would respond through the chair.
And we were in a committee meeting earlier today, so I'm used to it. There is the community grant that is being administered through the Department of Community Services. That is helping nonprofit organizations with their costs. So some of them would have seen escalated costs due to increased usage. Food banks, I believe Meals on Wheels services, some seniors outreach, those type of programs that are administered by nonprofits are receiving or eligible to receive financial support from the municipality. The residents, seniors, if they qualify for the tax rebate program, so those seniors who were still working would qualify under the financial tax rebate program. There's no age restriction on that. The only restriction is the qualifying employment requirement as well as the income loss. So there are some supports. There's also supports, I believe, from the federal government. There was a recent payment by the federal government, which seniors should have received in the last couple of weeks. And if for more details on the community program, Mr. Acorn may want to fill in if I've missed anything specific.
Not sure that Mr. Ray, I think you got it all. I don't see, George is shaking his head in the affirmative. So, but I will make the offer again if there are specific concerns. We are in a mode of considering whatever we can do, and while our abilities are really constrained, as you might imagine, feel free, please, to send an email to mayor@clarington.net. That's actually the most effective way. I know you're on social media. Social media is very difficult from a business perspective to track and to respond to. So I'd encourage you to use email instead. mayor@clarington.net. If you got some suggestions or observations, we're happy to look at them.
Great, thank you, Mayor Foster. We have a question pivoting to a different topic right now. Janita from Burkton would like to know, has the number of fires increased with everyone being at home and working from home?
So I think there was just an article in the paper on that. Chief Weir, can you help us out with that one?
Well, thank you for the question. Yes, I would say we have had probably a few more fires than usual in the last couple of weeks. One or two of them were around cooking. We had one just recently. Somebody decided to do a self-clean in their oven, and it malfunctioned, caused quite a bit of a stir in the household. But luckily, we were able to help them out and get the stove shut off. One thing we will see, and it's not so much COVID related, but with the dry conditions, we've seen a number of fires possibly caused by cigarettes being put out in flower pots, or flower pots just being used as that mechanism and left. Recently there was a fire where it was the mosquito coils. They had been putting them in the flower pot just to hold the coil as it burned to keep the mosquitoes down, and it actually caught the pot on fire. So there have been a few. Just be mindful, and especially probably a lot more people spending time outside on the deck and that. Make sure you put your candles out, your torches out, all those types of things that you might be using during the evening.
So true story, Chief. Our next door neighbor almost called the fire department because of the amount of smoke coming out of our house. And that was just me cooking.
Thank you.
So again, pivoting slightly, we have been getting a lot of calls in the municipality from residents concerned that they see neighbors, friends, people violating emergency orders. Can we just discuss, how people can report? How is municipal law enforcement handling all of these? If we can touch on that, that would be wonderful.
So our clerk, Anne Greentree, thought that she might get away without having to say anything. But Anne, this is sort of your bailiwick. Can you describe people how they might report?
Certainly. Our officers are working tirelessly out in the field, educating our community, and for the most part, they report that our citizens and residents and our visitors are all following the rules to the best of their ability. But should an individual witness a situation or have a concern, they can certainly call our bylaw enforcement or municipal law enforcement office. It's the main number for the municipality, 905-623-3379, and it's extension 2105. And I assure you that if the call does go to voicemail, leave the message and leave a detailed message, and the staff there will dispatch the call. I'd also like to point out that the municipal law enforcement team has been working very closely with the other departments, as Steve Brake had mentioned, as well as with engineering and including additional signage wherever we feel it's necessary. But DRPS has been a partner along with the municipal law enforcement team throughout this whole COVID situation and continues so. They educate our residents on social distancing as well as keeping groups within the permitted 10. So again, it would be extension 2105 should you feel the need to report a possible concern or violation.
And then you could reach out to DRP as well. I know they've got an online reporting tool, but if you're if there's a party going on, by the time DRP sees that online, I'm thinking it might be a bit late, but there is an online reporting form that you can use as well.
Yes.
Had they set up a separate number with DRP? I know there was some discussion about that, but I don't know where it went.
There is
yes.
a number, Wendy.
Sorry, go ahead, Basha.
No, my apologies.
No, I believe they did have a number. As things are moving forward through the process, I think at this time between DRPS and the Municipal Law Enforcement Office, they're leaning towards more having them call our office, unless of course it is an absolute emergency, then you would want to
Right.
be calling the usual number of 911.
Right, of course. Great, thanks, Ann. So the best bet is simply call our line. Thank you. Great, Basha, thank you.
With just under 4 minutes left in our live town hall, I wanted to thank everybody for joining. And I think we would be remiss if we didn't speak about a topic that was mentioned at council. We've heard some concerns from residents regarding our beaches and beach use. I know that we've had discussions in terms of rules surrounding that. If we could perhaps talk a little bit about beaches and how we are going to handle sort of the rules around beach use as the warm weather continues to be prevalent and the heat is on.
So that really is a timely question, and boy, a lot of time and consideration in terms of how we handle that. Anne, I know we just had a report from bylaws on that late this afternoon. And Mr. Brake, some of the stuff that we're doing down there. So if you can update folks in terms of what we're seeing, how we're enforcing, and Mr. Brake, signage that we are getting up. Anne, do you want to lead off on that one?
Certainly, thank you, Mr. Mayor. With respect to the beaches, our municipal law enforcement team will be working very vigilantly in the beach areas, enforcing parking. And I don't want to say zero tolerance, but it's going to be close to a zero tolerance to ensure the safety of all the individuals who are attending our beautiful beaches. So if you're choosing to go down to the beach, I'll let Mr. Brake talk further about what's permitted, what's not permitted. But if you are attending the beaches, be sure and park in an approved parking area to ensure your safety and the safety of others. When you're attending the beaches, there will be additional signage posted very shortly to very clearly articulate and explain what the rules of the beach are. You're encouraged to social distance first and foremost. Fires are not permitted, bonfires, hibachis or other type of cooking appliances are not permitted. Motorized vehicles are not permitted, but what is permitted is fun and enjoying the beautiful resource that we have. Mr. Brake, have I missed anything there?
I guess just to add to your comments there, Anne, we do have the 4 beaches. There's Bond Head in Newcastle, East Beach, and West Beach in Bowmanville, and then Curtis Shores or Curtis Beach in Curtis. It's been unprecedented the number of people that have visited each of those locations this year. And as Anne Greenshee has mentioned, we are working on a beach management plan that includes a number of parking restrictions to ensure that traffic flow can get through, as well as emergency services. There are large pictogram signs coming that are easily understood by everybody, and they will be placed in strategic locations, identifying what things can happen on the beach safely and what things should not be occurring on the beach safely. We are adding to our complement of reportable washrooms at each location so that people are using those facilities. And again, we want to ensure that people are having a good time at the beach, that they're maintaining social distancing. Pay attention to all the signing and just use what you can at this time. Wait for stage 3 to open and have a good time while the heat is on.
Thank you, Mr. Brake. And, you know, I'd just add for people to remember that in many of our beaches, residents are right there. There are people's homes. So be smart in terms of keeping yourself safe. Please, please, please be respectful. You know, in a number of cases, there are restrictions or beach closures. We don't want to have to do that. We really don't. And if people are respectful and smart, it's not going to be necessary. But again, don't forget, please, if you're down there, that in a lot of cases, people's homes are right there.
That's great.
Basha, we're at 7, and Ms. Greentree, I know that you've got a meeting starting immediately now. I don't know if we can take one more question before we cut things off, but Ms. Greentree, why don't you head to your next meeting?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. And why don't we do one more question before we wind things up?
Mayor Foster, you and I have discussed this, and you know, we've seen a lot of media reports on masks. They are now mandatory within the region of Durham and indoor spaces. But I think we talked also about the need for physical distancing while people still wear masks. I'm wondering, you and I talked about this the other day, if we could kind of discuss and talk about that message a little bit.
So this is full circle. I guess we're going to end where we started. So for people that were on just a few minutes early, it's important for people to remember that masks do not protect you. They protect people from you. So they describe people who have the virus as shedding the virus. Clearly, you know, someone infected somebody else, and having that mask on will stop you from possibly making somebody else ill. And if you're following the news, you know, particularly in some of the jurisdictions, we look down to the states, our neighbors to the south, where you know, masks being mandated is the norm. So we'd ask you to please follow those rules. And because masks don't protect you, they can protect from you. Remember that a great way of protecting yourself and people around you is that physical distancing, the 6 feet away. Please remain vigilant, washing your hands. So I know, you know, things are opening up a little bit more. We've had a lot of questions on the stage 3, and I know that businesses and people want to get out and enjoy the summer and get to whatever normal is, but we're only going to be able to do that if we keep the pandemic under control. If you go to the COVID tracker for Durham, we are doing pretty well, although in the last several days there have been a few, and I've got to emphasize few new cases of COVID, but in Clarington we had gone for about 2 weeks with no new cases, and a couple of cases have popped up. So nothing to be horrified about, but we really need to be vigilant and keep this under control so that we don't find ourselves in a situation where we've got to start shutting things down that we thought we could open. So thank you for that, Basha, and tons of information, I guess, on our website, on the region's website, credible sources, CDC, World Health Organization. If you're curious, CTV, if you Google CTV COVID cases, they have a site where you can compare internationally the cases per capita, and there is a real stark difference between countries that took significant steps, such as Canada, both in the number of cases and in deaths. If you look at the charts for Sweden, Brazil, the United States, countries that opened too early or did not shut down as effectively, you'll see a significant difference in the number of cases. and significantly more deaths per capita as well. And we just don't want to be there.
That's a great message. I think we're at 7:05. Mayor Foster, as we wrap up, I think residents would like to know how we're going to be continuing communicating throughout COVID, and this is a question that we get a lot in our Facebook Lives. As you know, the mayor also has done several Facebook Lives in the past. If we're going to continue this this electronic means of communication, so maybe as we wrap up and close, we could kind of talk about that.
Sure. So I think the Facebook Live, as we started this is a new way of reaching out, and beyond COVID, I'm thinking that we will likely do these perhaps on a quarterly basis, and as I say, beyond COVID, if it's budget time, what a great way of engaging people on the budget. If you've got questions on community services, just an opportunity to get those questions answered and see the faces behind this amazing team that we have in Clarington. So I fully expect that we're going to continue to do that. In terms of COVID and ongoing information, Basha, you can tell people how to subscribe to the information that you are putting out on a regular basis. So people can get that, or they can come to our website to see it as well. But in terms of subscribing to notices of a variety of sorts, how would you suggest people do that, Basha?
Actually, through our website. Thank you, Mayor Foster. Clarington.net/COVID-19. You can subscribe to get all up-to-date information, updated as soon as we have any changes. So there's a button at the bottom of that page, and it's really easy. You just hit subscribe, and you can subscribe not just to that page, but to all of the news from the municipality. So I would encourage everybody to do so as we strive to provide the best and most up-to-date communication throughout the pandemic and beyond.
Great. Well, Basha, thank you for this. Members of staff, thank you for spending part of your evening with the community. For all of you who asked questions and joined in, truly appreciate the engagement. Again, if you've got questions or comments, flip an email to mayor@clarington.net. And we will sign off now. Have yourselves a great, it's a beautiful evening out there, and do stay safe.